Hey everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to A Vintage Vanity. I am super excited for today's video because, well, you guys are here, as well as my long-tailed assistant down here. We are both very excited for today's video because I'm going to be sharing with you my top 5 tips for shopping for true vintage, and my friends over at Real Vintage Swag, link in the description, are about to make this video really interesting. They have not only generously provided some items for a giveaway, so stay tuned to the end of the video to figure out how to enter that, but also to kind of help illustrate some of the tips that I'm about to give you guys. If you're as excited about this video as I am, you're going to want to make sure you don't miss out on any other exciting videos coming out. So make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button. It's absolutely free. It just lets you know when I post new videos. And if you click the bell icon, it will actually send you a notification when I upload. Since my upload schedule's a little bit crazy right now. Tip number 1 is, where are you going to shop? Now, fortunately, we have a lot of options available to us, but the right choice for you is going to depend on a couple of factors. Things like where you're located, what's accessible to you, and your budget. So let's go ahead and look at some of those options. Probably the most accessible is the good old thrift store. Most towns have them. Heck, they tend to have multiple sometimes. And the great part about that is those thrift stores tend to have a lot of stuff in them, and they tend to be really budget friendly, which is great. But the downside is not everything there is vintage, and it really is kind of a hunt for those treasure items. And let me tell you, there are people out there that are so good at thrifting. It's like they're vintage thrifting nifflers, and they just go in there and they find these amazing bargains. It is my dream to one day walk out of there with like a great vintage find, and I could be like, and yes, I found it for $1 someday. So if you have the niffler gene, thrift stores are going to be a great option for you. One of my favorite ways to shop is estate sales, and to find the ones that I like, I use an app called estatesale.net, link to it in the description. It shows you all the estate sales going on in your area, and what I love the most is they show you pictures. So before you go drive an hour to find out, this estate had nothing that you were interested in, you can kind of see everything before you get out and go. And it's also helpful for planning where you want to go, because the downside to estate sales is the fact that it can be highly competitive. So if there is something that you see that you really want, you better get there early to snag it. Now, the other side to it though is you can find some incredible pieces for really budget-friendly prices. I think the reason why I like estate sales so much is that you kind of get to know who the person was a little bit by walking through their house and through their history. And when you have a piece that you bring to your home, it's like you're bringing a little bit of that history with you, and you're bringing a little bit of their story into your lives, and it connects you to the history a little bit more. And I love that, because whenever like I sew with fabric that I got, or bake with something that I got, I always know where I got it and how I felt that day, and it just, I don't know, it just connects you. But it's less like a shopping experience and more like an adventure journey. Which brings us to one of my other favorite places to shop, and that is the antique mall. I actually have some footage of me shopping last winter at one of my local favorite spots, the Volo Antique Mall. Chef's kiss. This place is so wonderful. It's like 3 buildings worth of antiques. It is a vintagey wonderland. It's on the same grounds as the Volo Auto Museum. It's just, if you're in Illinois or Wisconsin, this really is a must-stop location. Here's the deal with antique malls. They essentially will have booths that they rent out to vintage sellers. Those sellers go out and they find like all these amazing vintage pieces. They clean them up if they need to. They repair them if they have to. And then they beautifully display them in their booth, which gives us like the most convenient, amazing way to shop, because we just walk in and there's all these amazing vintage treasures before us, and we just get to kind of have fun shopping, right? And a lot of the booths are just so beautiful, and even some of them have themes, and it's just a lovely shopping experience. That shopping experience does come with a bit of a higher price tag for those curated items, But it doesn't mean you still can't find bargains. A lot of the vendor booths will work with you if you're buying multiple items. And if you sign up for emails, a lot of times the antique malls will email you when they're having a sale, because just like any store, they will have sales on occasion. Lastly, we have vintage resale stores, which are probably our least accessible option, at least in person, as most of those stores tend to be in bigger cities, and if you're not in a bigger city, you're not going to have access. But here's a wonderful thing. Most of those stores have an online presence, whether it's through selling on Instagram, eBay, Etsy, or having their own website. And what I love about this is it means the world is our oyster. We can shop anywhere, at any time. We're not limited to what's available to us locally, which is a beautiful thing. But again, we're talking about a curated collection. So that means that the price tags are going to be a little bit higher. Also, you're going to have to pay to have that item shipped to you. So just keep that in mind. Now, here's the thing though. If you are shopping online and you see this item and you're like, oh, my heart needs to have it, reach out to the seller. Maybe there's something you could work out. Maybe they can do a payment plan. Maybe they could do free shipping or even take a slightly lower price. But here's the thing. Here's the line. And I know you guys aren't, but don't be a dick, right? Don't lowball them. That's just rude. There's a lot that goes into that listing on Etsy. They are finding those items. They are cleaning, repairing. They are taking pictures, they are doing the descriptions, they're paying to have it listed. And so there's a lot that goes on behind it. So we just want to make sure that we're always respectful of what somebody's doing and the prices that we're offering. Tip number 2, have a plan, but also don't have a plan. Okay, here's what I mean by that. Especially if you're going to an antique mall where you're faced with maybe 3 buildings worth of vintagey wonderfulness, it is so easy to get overwhelmed by trying to look at everything. So you need a plan to kind of know what it is your main goals are. So, I mean, if you're like me, I have sensory issues, so sometimes being like trying to take in everything I'm seeing can leave me exhausted and with a headache, and then I get sweaty, and then I get cranky, and then I'm not having any fun, right? So by going in with a plan, I essentially know, like when I walk into an antique mall, I kind of know what it is I may be looking for that day. Maybe that day I'm looking for something yellow to go in my kitchen, right? So I'm on the lookout for things that are yellow, and I'm also on the lookout for like home goods. But also, don't have a plan. Don't just be looking for maybe what might be that one thing you're there for. I am always on the lookout for things to decorate my home with. I'm always on the lookout for clothing, sewing patterns, fabric, that kind of stuff. So when I'm there, I will always be kind of on the lookout for that kind of stuff. Because if you're trying to stop at every booth, trying to see everything, you won't. And then at some point, you're going to start to get exhausted. You're going to start to glaze over, and you're just going to start to scan things and not really take in what you're seeing. And in a lot of these booths, it's really easy to overlook the fact that, the light hanging right there is actually for purchase, or the rug that's over there. And that might be the thing that you are actually looking for, right? So it allows you to go in with purpose, but also to be open to things maybe you weren't actually there for, but you've been slightly on the look for. Clearly, I didn't even try to fool you that this was filmed on the same day. No, life got in the way between tips 2 and 3, but we're back and on to tip 3, which is talk to your vendors. And I know if you're introverted, you probably just noped on out of here for me, but stay with me. I myself am an extroverted introvert, and I have a lot of social anxiety around small talk, networking events, those kind of things. Some of it has to do with I have a lot of hearing issues, but also because I either don't know the rules, or maybe I don't want to play by the rules, and I will talk about things that maybe you're not supposed to talk about during small talk, but I want to cut to the chase, right? Which has led to some awkward conversations and making jokes and then nobody laughs. So it can get really awkward really quick, which is why I have anxiety around it. But here's the thing, where I don't have anxiety is, for lack of a better term, when I'm in the scene, right? It's because when I meet you guys at events, we already have commonalities, right? We already know that we like the same things. We already kind of like know each other. There's none of that like social dance that you have to do. And it's a really relaxed, friendly, wonderful environment, which is why I love meeting you guys. Going to an antique mall or a vintage store is kind of the same thing, right? These people have already hung up a sign saying, we like the same things you do, right? So they're more than happy a lot of times to sit around and talk about Pyrex or vintage clothes or hats, because we all like the same things that we like. So one of the great things about talking with the vendors is they know their inventory, right? So if you're looking for something in specific, you can ask them about it. Maybe they don't have it in the booth there that day, or maybe they do have it and you're just not finding it. If you are like myself and sizing in vintage clothes is really difficult, they oftentimes will know whether they have any larger sizes in stock, because there's nothing more disheartening sometimes than going through like rack after rack and like everything is a really small size, right? It can get hard sometimes, and by talking to them about that, they can kind of direct you to the right place. And the other wonderful thing is sometimes you just find some amazing people that you get to chat with and nerd out about similar likes. Tip number 4 is a must if you are going to be shopping for vintage clothes, and that is knowing your size. And by size, I do not mean I am a size 8 and I am a size 16. It means knowing your measurements. This will save you from a couple painful situations, one of which is buying a beautiful vintage piece, getting it home, realizing it doesn't fit, you hang it in your closet for it to collect dust and it doesn't get worn by anybody. Or staring at it and thinking to yourself, well, if I just lost 10 pounds, right? You don't want to do that to yourself. Don't have a closet where you look at it and you get sad because you can't fit in half of it, right? That does no good for anybody. Next of which I may or may not have found myself in a time or two wherein you find something cute, you hold it up to yourself, right? And you're like, this could probably fit. And fortunately enough, they have a dressing room for you to try the item on. And sometimes these dressing rooms are, just curtains. And it's really small and it's cramped. And you get yourself into the dress or halfway into the dress. And you realize, oh, this isn't going to work. This is not going to work. Then you realize you also have to extricate yourself from the dress. And I don't know about you, but when that moment happens, I start to panic. I immediately start to sweat. And I realize that this is going to be trickier than I thought it was going to be. And of course, you don't want to damage the dress at all. And if you're lucky, you got a friend with you to help. But yeah, it could be a little bit terrifying. So if you know your measurements, you will hopefully avoid those sweaty, panic-filled moments. I recommend knowing your bust, your waist, and your hip measurements. I also measure my shoulder width just because I found in some vintage clothing the shoulders are a bit narrower. So let me quickly show you a couple different ways that you can measure yourself. No matter which way you decide to measure yourself, you will need a flexible tape measure. When taking your measurements on your body, you're either going to want to do it in your unmentionables or in clothes that are thin and tight to your body. At all times, you'll want to make sure that your tape measure is laying completely flat, that it's not twisted or gaping. For your waist measurements, the easiest way to find your natural waist is to look directly at the ceiling, put your hands out to the side, and bring them directly to your waist. Where your hands naturally fall is your natural waistline. You'll want to make sure the measuring tape stays level all the way around your waist. And there you have your measurement. An easier way to take that measurement is from an existing garment. And to measure a waist, I suggest using a skirt. So grab a comfortable skirt out of your closet that you like the fit of, lay it flat onto a surface, and you're going to want to make sure that the waistband is laying nice and flat. You also want to make sure that this waistband doesn't have any stretch to it, because that will make the measuring a little bit harder if it's a stretch material. All you have to do is measure from seam to side seam, and then take that measurement and double it, and that is your waist. Easy peasy. So when you're out shopping for vintage and you see something cute and you want to check the waist size, all you have to do is measure from seam to seam, and whatever that measurement is, you double it, and that is the waist size. If you're trying to determine the waist size on a garment that has stretch, you'll do the same exact thing, except you'll hold one side of the side seam with your measuring tape, and you'll stretch the fabric out to what is the comfortable stretch. You don't want to stretch the fabric as far as it will stretch, because then it might get distorted, and even though you might reach your waist size, the garment is still not going to look good. So you just want to go to the comfortable stretch of the garment and measure that, double that measurement, and you have the waist size. For our bust size, as you guys probably already know, do not use your bra size, right? That number on your bra size, whether it's a 32, 36, or whatever, is actually the measurement below your bust. What we're looking for is what the measurement is at the highest point of your bust. So we're going to take that tape measure again, keeping it flat to our skin, and you're going to wear the bra that you most frequently wear, and all you're going to want to do is make sure once again that that tape is level, and you're going to bring it right across the highest point of your bust, and that is your bust measurement. You can determine your bust size from an existing garment in your closet. You're just going to want to make sure that it is a garment with no stretch in it whatsoever. And all you have to do that is, again, lay it on a flat surface. This time we're going to go right underneath the armpit, kind of where all the seams meet. And you're going to measure from that point to the opposite side of the shirt. And then once you double that size, that is your bust measurement. This is the same way you'll measure for bust sizes when you're out shopping as well. For your hip size, I do recommend measuring it on your body. You're going to want to measure across the widest part of your hip, so almost at the apex of your butt. Once again, making sure that the tape measure stays flat to your skin and also that it stays level. The easiest way to measure hip size while you're out shopping, if you look at the garment, there's always going to be a curve in the garment where the hips are going to fall. And that's the area that you'll want to go from seam to measure, and then you simply double that measurement. The reason why I started measuring my shoulders, and to do that, if you're wearing a shirt, the easiest way to do it is from seam to seam, and you'll do it from the back. And why I started doing this is I started shopping for a lot of like house coats and robes and those kind of things. And those are very loose flowing garments. So even if you're shopping online and you're looking at the standard measurements, of course the waist is going to seem to fit. Of course a lot of times the bust is going to fit because it's meant to be roomy. But the problem is you're like, oh, those fit in my measurements, ding, ding, ding. And then you get it home and you go to try to put it on and it's like this, right? So for, if you are shopping for looser flowing garments like that, you are going to want that shoulder measurement just to be sure you don't run into the tragedies that I ran into. This house coat that I was so excited to turn into a dress is the best example I can give on why shoulder measurements matter. Because let me tell you, the bust and the waist, no problem in this dress. I didn't check the shoulder measurement, and you probably can't really tell in the video, but I've got no arm motion in this at all. There's probably 3 inches too small. So I'm so sad that this didn't work out, but it will find a good home. The beautiful thing about knowing your measurements is it's going to make online shopping a heck of a lot easier for you guys. You won't have to deal with any returns or trying to resell items that didn't work out for you. But also, once you do all the measurements, you know with confidence that when you put that garment on, it's probably going to look mwah, chef's kiss, right? Tip number 5 is to know your budget. Shopping for vintage items can get expensive, and let me tell you, when you're out vintage mall hopping for the weekend, it's really, really easy to forget how math works and that 50 plus 50 does not equal 50. So you never want to get home from a fun day of vintage shopping to find out you're going to be eating ramen for 2 weeks, right? But we all have those holy grail items, right? Whether it is a Shaheen dress or a lady head base or a piece of Pyrex, right? You got to know your budget for that too. Because we never want to end up putting something into our space that every time we look at it, we're like, oh, I shouldn't have paid that much for it, right? We want to have those good experiences with those items. So know the maximum you are willing to pay for something and stick with it. I'm going to throw in a quick bonus tip, we'll call it 5B, and that is to always know what color of accessories you need. I actually keep my accessories now in rainbow order, so I know exactly what color I'm kind of missing, because I can't tell you how many times I have gone out and I've been like, oh, these earrings are so pretty. Yeah, I think I need blue. And then I have so many blue earrings now because I like the color blue, and there is barely a purple earring to be found. So if you know what color of accessories you are lacking, it is really easy to make sure that when you're out shopping and you're looking through those accessories, you're picking up the right colors to complete your wardrobe. Probably my favorite thing about accessories is that most of them are one size fits all. Before I let you go, let's talk giveaway. And I do want to thank Real Vintage Swag for providing all the goodies for this amazing giveaway. This giveaway is going to be open for 1 week for those of you that are 18 years old and older. You can be located in the world. So yes, this is open internationally, and there will be 2 winners, which will be announced on the community tab. If you go into the description box below, you will find the Rafflecopter link, which shows you all the ways in which you can enter, as well as giving all the little details of the deadline and all that good stuff. Now, what exactly are you going to be winning? Well, it depends. The winners will be asked to provide their bust and waist measurements, because I do have some clothes available, but I want to make sure that if I send you a piece of clothes, it's actually going to fit. But I have a bunch of different stuff, so I'm basically going to be putting together a little package full of like vintagey accessories and goodness. So it's going to be different depending on who wins. So it's really going to be kind of a customized true vintage box to you. And this is just a big thank you guys so much. And again, I cannot say enough good things about Real Vintage Swag. So if you are in the area, please stop by, visit her booth at the Volo and Tik Mall, and also visit her over on her social media. All that links is going to be in the description box below. Now, a huge subscriber shout out to Mrs. Outdoor Addict. Thank you so much for liking, commenting, and watching my videos, and just being a part of our cozy little online community. I hope you guys really enjoyed today's video. If you did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. And of course, I love hearing from you. So in the comment section below, give me your best vintage antiquing tip. If you guys are going to miss me, of course, between uploads, be sure to follow me on all the social media as a Vintage Vanity. If you'd like to watch my last video, go ahead and click the video you see playing right there. If you don't want to miss out on any future videos, go ahead and click subscribe. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye!